What's up guys, and welcome to the channel. My name's Micah, and today we're going to be wrenching on our 2001 Dodge Dakota. So today we are going to be putting in some new front sway bar bushings. I'll also show you how to do the rear ones as well. They're very easy. It's a pretty straightforward job, front and rear. So there's kind of two reasons that we're replacing ours. Number one, we're going to lift the truck with a suspension lift. You know, we're gonna crank on those torsion keys. And in my experience with these Dakotas, you know, your front end can be totally fine. You know, you're not getting any weird noises at all in your normal driving. But as soon as you crank those torsion keys up to give your truck some lift, always for me at least, suddenly I would get a ton of noise coming from the front sway bar bushings. So on our black 2004 Dakota, you know, the front end never made a squeak, nothing at all. And then as soon as we cranked up those torsion keys, the thing was just noisy as heck. Now our 2001 here, we're getting a little bit of noise and we haven't even touched the torsion keys on it. So I'll kind of bounce our front bumper up and down so you guys can hear the noise that the truck makes when you need to replace your front sway bar bushings. So hopefully you guys could kind of hear that squeaking, that as it bounces up and down. So I had first heard it as we hit some dips in the road. You know, I would hear that from the front end, and I knew instantly, well, it needs front sway bar bushings. Which is perfectly fine because anytime I lift these Dakotas, I always put new ones of those in anyways. So we're just gonna go ahead and knock that out today before we start wrenching on the lifts and other things that we're gonna do to this truck. And it's a super easy, straightforward job. So these are gonna be the new polyurethane sway bar bushings for the front that we got for our pickup. So I've used these exact bushings on several different Dakotas before. They hold up really well. I mean, the install goes easy. They seem really heavy duty. I've never had a problem with these, so I'll put a link to these exact bushings in the description. And I believe this is the same part number for any 97 to 2004 4x4 Dodge Dakota. So the first thing I like to do is jack up the front end of the truck. I'll put some jack stands under the frame just so we don't have any pressure on our front suspension at all, so those wheels are just kind of suspended in the air. I found that that kind of just works easiest. So we'll jack up the truck quick. All right, so now that our truck is jacked up here, we can get to those sway bar bushings. Well, and so I'll kind of show you guys all the bolts that we'll be taking off here. So as we jump under the front of the truck, oh, this baby's nice and greasy and dirty. But so this is gonna be the front sway bar here. So it connects to the lower control arm here. Runs across, it has this bracket here. Over on the passenger side, there's another one of these brackets, and then it connects over on the left side, lower control arm as well. So we're going to be taking off these brackets here. We're gonna take off this little U-shaped bracket as well on both sides. And then, so this bracket here has two bolts on it. The first one is on the bottom. That's gonna be a 15 millimeter. These two bolts in the U-shaped bracket are gonna be a 13 millimeter. And then the second bolt for these, you can kind of see up here, it hides in there. There's kind of a long stud that has a bolt on it. So to get to that, we are going to go through this hole in the front. That is how we will get to that. So, and actually this little tab here, you might see, so that is attached to the nut that is on the back side of this bolt here. So as we're taking this off, you might see this kind of move a little bit. Well, it's attached to that nut, and then it goes through this hole here. That's kind of what holds our nut from spinning as we're taking this guy off here. And then it's super easy to get that nut back on because you just insert it through that hole, and then you just kind of start your bolt down low into that nut. So I think what we're gonna do first is just take our two main brackets kind of below the frame here off. So I'll start by loosening the lower bolts here, these 15s on either side, and then we're gonna go up through our hole here to get at our other bolt that holds those on, our other nut rather. And I have found that what is this, a 13/16 I believe? A 13/16 fits really snug on there. I think the metric size is gonna be 18 millimeter, but I have a deep 13/16, and then on an extension that works really good to get at those bolts. But I already had a 13/16 deep socket, and it fits really snug, so that's what we'll be using. And then I just put a 1/2" extension on that. Sometimes I'll need to use the breaker bar to bust those loose, but we'll see if we can't do it just with our 1/2" drive ratchet. All right. Yep. I cannot bust that one free with our ratchet, so we'll put our breaker bar on that one on our 15. Just give it a slight turn. There we go. Busted free. Now we'll finish it out with the ratchet. And I'm not gonna completely take those off. I'm just gonna loosen them right now. Make sure our other one's loose enough. Yep, it is. So, got a piece of dirt in my eye. So, and you can kind of see here, that little rod that's attached to our nuts, you know, that loosened up as well on both sides. So, and you can kind of see that that moves our bolt down there. So everything worked perfect there. So now we're gonna take our 13/16 and then go in through those holes on the front of the frame there and loosen those bolts. Well, and I just have a feeling that we're gonna need the breaker bar for those. In my experience, those bigger nuts in there have typically been on fairly tight. So we'll just get in there. Yep, we're on it. Oh man, it is on there. I knew it would be. Okay, we got that one free. Oh, she is greasy up in there. Now we'll go to our other one quick. Yep. Okay. Yeah, sometimes those are on there just kind of tight that you just need a breaker bar to initially bust them free. So, yeah, now we can see that our bracket is loosening up here on the bottom. I can see it wiggling around. So, and I'll actually take these nuts completely off, and then after we have those off on either side, then we'll finish taking our 15 bolt out with the nuts on those rods. Got that one out. Wow, that is a dirty son of a gun. And there is our other one. Well, and actually, you know what? I'm just gonna take the side ones off here, actually loosen those up on both sides. Since we still have our 2 bolts on that bracket, our main bracket there, held on. I'm just gonna loosen the sides up just so our bar is kind of held down there. It doesn't just drop in our face. So we'll just work on this driver's side, and then we'll go over to the passenger side and loosen those up. And we'll see if we can bust these loose just with our 3/8 drive ratchet. We might need to use an adapter and put the breaker bar on it, but we'll see. No, yep, the ratchet was fine. Yep, not too bad. We can kind of see our U-shaped bracket loosening up and dropping down a little bit there. I'll just get those loosened up to where I can kind of finger loosen them out of there. Yeah, that should be good. All right, we'll go over to the other side now. Yep, okay, those are nice and loose now. Yep, so our bracket came down there. That's nice and loose. So now we'll finish taking our main ones out here. So our rod, you know, we'll take those U-shaped brackets off the center. We'll pull our little nuts that are on the rods out, and then our sway bar should be free. All right, so there is our bolt, and there is our nut on a stick. Now we'll just get the driver's side one out. All right, and there we go on that one. Oh man, those are so dirty. Wow. Must be a lot of grease and gunk and oil just from oil changes and all kinds of stuff up in there. So we'll finish taking these little U-clamps or the U-shaped brackets on the sides out. Kind of loosen our bolts. Since we loosened them up, we can turn them by hand. Finish taking those out on both sides. We're almost free. There we go. So now that is that U-shaped bracket there. So we're totally, oh, it's kind of wedged up in there. Now it's free. Oh, and this side drops down. So we'll kind of lower that. Now we'll go over to our other side. Oh, and since we lowered the one side, now there's a little tension on our bolts. We'll use the ratchet to finish them out. That one's about good. Yep. One bolt out, the ratchet on our other one, and then our sway bar will be completely free. It's almost there. All right. Woo! The sway bar is down. Yes! So we'll just kind of reach in there and pull that guy out. Okay, so that is going to be our sway bar. We'll grab our brackets there, all of our bolts, kind of pull those out. Okay, so as we look at our sway bar, so you'll see that there is one of the bushings. The side ones kind of look like that. Find one of those on either side. And then once we pull this bracket off, well, let me set the camera down here. To kind of show you what that bushing looks like. So the ones kind of on the center, if we can push this off of there, those are gonna have that kind of that flat side to them. So, and that's kind of what goes against the frame, you know, and then obviously the round part of that bushing is kind of what goes in our bracket. So we'll just kind of slip these off of here. You know, we can kind of just pull them off to the side, just like that. Sometimes some of these bushings, yeah, you can kind of see that there's a little line there. I think it's technically supposed to split. You know, our poly ones, they have a split in them, so you wouldn't have to slide the bushing all the way off. You could just open it up and then put it around the bar. So we'll see if we can't pull these off of there. No, I think these rubber ones, yeah, so I think the rubber ones here, these factory ones, they don't have a split in them. So you just kind of weasel them over to the side to get them off. Voila, just like that. There was so much dirt and grease and gunk around our sway bar. It was kind of hard to just spin those around and get those off of there, but we did. And so now we'll just do the two on the other side there, pull those off, and then we'll kind of clean up our bar a little bit and get it ready for the new bushings. So and when you have the bushings off of this sway bar, you know, you'll want to kind of clean up those areas that your new bushings are gonna go. You know, you could clean up the whole entire rod, but since our center bushings are poly ones, we'll be able to clamp them around there. We don't have to slide them up all the way. I'm just cleaning the spot that they go. Of course, we polished up the end of that, kind of got a lot of the crud off there. And so on our other side, you know, sometimes it's nice to take like a steel tine brush, some steel wool or something, and really sparkle those up, kind of get all the crud off there. I'm just using the side of a flat blade screwdriver to kind of scrape any dirt and stuff that's built up in there off, so we really have a smooth flat surface there. And then after I'm finished with that, you know, I kind of wipe it off and make sure that that's all smooth and clean. So, you know, if there's a bunch of dirt on there, you're gonna put in your new bushing and it's gonna start squeaking. You wanna make sure that that's all real nice and clean there. So now that we've got all of the parts on our sway bar, you know, that our bushings are gonna go cleaned off, you'll wanna kind of clean your brackets off as well. So these bigger brackets, kind of get in there and wipe all the crud, you know, scrape any big globs of stuff out of there. And then you might look at your brackets that are in the lower control arms, kind of where the ends of your sway bar goes. You know, wipe those out, clean those out as best you can. And then your smaller little brackets that hold the sides in, which actually those look pretty clean. It was really just our big ones there. I mean, they have so much dirt and crap in them. So we'll clean those out real good. So now we've got all of our different brackets clean. We've got our sway bar clean in the spots that our bushings are gonna go. So we busted out our new bushings here. So we've got the two ones for the side. You know, we've got the two ones that are gonna go kind of on the center there, and then they do have that slit in them that they can break apart. So we'll just kind of clamp those around the bar like that, so we don't have to weasel them up around kind of through some of the other dirt that we didn't clean. And we didn't clean the entire sway bar because we're in a crunch for time. Christmas is in a couple days. We've got big plans with the family here tonight, tomorrow, the day after, the week after. But your sway bar bushings will come with this little tube of grease. And so what we're gonna do is bust open this little tube of grease, and we're gonna wipe grease all around the outside here, and then all around the inside of the bushing here. So we really just wanna grease those up really nice so they stay lubed up in there, they don't make any noise, they stay really nice for a long time. All right, so we've got our two center ones greased up here. So the way that we're gonna do this is we're gonna put our two center ones on, and then we're gonna put our brackets over those, and then we're gonna kind of hold it up and get the center ones started. And then after we have those started, you know, and our sway bar is kind of held in by those, then we'll put on our side bushings and raise up the sides and clip those into their spots. So we'll kind of pull this bushing around, fit that over the bar, whoop, there we go. That one's perfect. Get our other one on here. All right. So we've got our new bushings on there. So now we'll just take our brackets. We'll kind of put those around those. And typically these poly bushings, they're just a little bit firmer, I guess. They're a little bit stiffer than, say, your rubber bushings. So sometimes you really have to push these, push these brackets around there to get them started. I think we've got that one there. Now we'll start our other one. Oh, come on, baby. Just about. Yeah, I think we've got that one started too. Okay, so now we'll kind of hold this up there. We'll put our bolts through, you know, that are on our brackets, and then we'll start our nuts on those, kind of from those holes in the frame, and then we'll get the bottom bolts in there. Well, and our bushings kind of wanted to they kept coming out of there. If you can kind of see that, they wouldn't quite go down as they're greased up. So I'm just taking a hammer and I'm kind of hitting those down in there, and it really seats them nicely. So now you can see that that's getting down in there a lot more than it was. So now we'll turn them in the right direction here, and we'll put our sway bar under there and then slip those bolts through their holes in the frame. Okay, I'll just kind of find where these are gonna slip in there. Well, turn our brackets a little bit. Okay, got one in. Turn our other bracket down to the right angle. Got our other one in. Okay, so now that is held in on its own. So I'll just start the nuts on the other side of those bolts. So basically what I'm gonna do here is I'll just put my nut in my socket there. So we've got that, and then I'll kind of get under there and hold that sway bar at the right angle, or maybe I'll just be able to start it just like this. Yeah, I think that might have started it. So I'll kind of hold it as I keep twisting. Yep, it's definitely started. So we've got that one started. That's awesome. Okay. Pull our ratchet out and we'll start the other one. Yep, we got that one started too. Perfect. All right. So we're just gonna have those somewhat tight, just kind of finger tight. We're not gonna snug them completely down. So now that we've got the edges of our sway bar kind of hanging down lower there underneath the control arm, we're gonna grease up our other sway bar bushings that go on the ends of those. We'll slip them on the end, and then we'll put those brackets on and kind of softly snug them up into their spot. So we'll do that now. So now that we've got both of our end bushings greased up, we'll just slide those on either end. We'll take those U-shaped brackets, put them on underneath, and then we'll start those bolts. Well, and so actually what I think we're gonna do is start our lower bolts here, because we can't quite get our sway bar into the spot that we need. So I don't want to run into a problem down the road. So I think we're gonna start these bolts here in our lower bracket. We can kind of pinch those in there. Yep, just barely. We'll get them started, and then we'll put our nuts up over the top. We might have to tighten down the bolts in the frame on the top of that bracket just a little bit. And we lost our socket in there. See if we can't fish it out. Yep, there we go. That's always kind of like a moment. Well, so now we've got our 15mm and our bolt here. So we'll slide that up. We'll see if we can't start that one. Yep, we got that one started, no problem. Got it finger tight here. Now I'll put the ratchet on it. Get a little pressure on there, so we can kind of pull this up into place. All right, we're not gonna cinch it down just yet. So now we'll tighten up the other bolt on our passenger side in the frame, and then we'll get our bolt in the bottom and our nut started. All right, yep, put that up in there. Get our bolt, our nut over there. And you can kind of see these from the side. Make sure that your little nut on a stick is lined up. Yep, we got it. So put this on there. Give her a little spin. Whoa. Whoa. We're throwing stuff. You're tightened up a little bit. Okay, now we got some pressure on it. There we go. Kind of cinch this up into place. We're not gonna fully tighten it yet, but we'll get it close. Yeah, that should be good enough. So now what I'm gonna do, we'll kind of pull our sway bar down here so we have plenty of room. We'll slip our lower bushings on there. We'll see if we can't push that up into place. We might need to use our jack. Maybe we'll need to lower the truck off the jack stands, but we'll see how it's looking. Well, and yeah, it's just gonna be a little bit of a stretch to get those lower ones in. So I'm gonna loosen our top ones in. So now that we've got all of our bolts, you know, in the main part started, the lower ones and the top ones, we can kind of loosen them a bit. You know, you almost just need to tighten those top ones through the frame here in order to pull that bracket close enough to get your bottom ones. But since we've got them started, we'll just loosen them up here a little bit. You know, not so much that our nut comes off the top, but just enough so we can stretch the sway bar over so we can fit the lower bushings where they go. Well, and I think that should be good, so we'll try and muscle it over here and see what happens. Oh, yep, I think that's gonna be perfect. Kind of look at our other side, make sure we're lined up just right. And you want to kind of make sure that you have that sway bar perfectly spaced out, you know, so it's not hanging off too much longer on one side. Let's see if we can't muscle this up in there. You know what, I'm gonna put the jack under it and add a subtle amount of pressure just to kind of help that sway bar find its home. So we'll just kind of spin this jack a little bit, and our sway bar is rolling right up into where it needs to be. Yep, just a little bit more. Almost there. That looks like the one. So as our jack is there, we'll kind of reach around with our bracket and then our two bolts, and we'll get that started under there. So that's perfect. We just got our brackets, our bolts started. So we'll kind of cinch those up. They're cinched up. So now we'll lower our jack and we'll go put it on the other side just like that. See if we need to put a little pressure. Well, and actually no, we didn't need to put any pressure with the jack. So just putting a little pressure on our passenger side there, it just brought the driver's side of our sway bar right into place. So everything looks perfect there. So I think we should be able just to take our bracket, put it up around there, and start our bolt. Yep, started perfectly. We got our other one started in there. All right, sweet deal. So now we're just gonna go over all of our different bolts. So these two, we'll cinch those down. We'll cinch our lower bolts here on those brackets down, and then we'll reach through the frame with our deep socket and get those bolts cinched down. But then that should be about it. Once we've got everything tightened down, then we can take the truck off of its jack stands, and the final test will be to bounce that bumper and see if we get any squeaking at all. All right, so it looks like we've got everything cinched down, so take a look at our new bushings in there. Beautiful red bushings everywhere. Oh my goodness, it's lovely. Woohoo! So now we can take the truck off the jack stands. Once we do that, then we'll bounce the suspension. We'll see if we get any noise. All right, our truck is off the jack stand, so moment of truth. Let's press on the bumper, see if we get any squeaking. Not a squeak, so that is absolutely perfect. That's always what you want to hear after a job like that. Nothing at all. So that didn't take us a super long time, maybe about an hour long job, I would say. So, and I will put the link to those exact sway bar bushings that we used, that I've always had good luck with, in the description for you guys. If I recall correctly, they're about 40 bucks. And so now we're under the rear of our truck. I'll just show you exactly how the rear sway bar bushings look on them. It's super easy compared to the front. So here's our rear axle, obviously. This is gonna be your rear sway bar. So you have one bushing right in there. So it's just 2 bolts, one here, one on the back side that take that out. And then on the other side of the axle, 1 bolt, 2 bolt. So you just have 2 bushings there. We didn't get any noise from ours, so I don't see any need to replace those. Sometimes you can get a rattling noise from your sway bar links here. But this has some aftermarket sway bar links already on it. So, and we haven't gotten any noise out of those. So everything looks good as far as our rear sway bar bushings links go. But if you did need to replace those, not a tough job at all. I'll put a link to the rear sway bar bushings as well. Maybe some sway bar links too, in case you guys need those. Otherwise, that's about it for today. So we got rid of all the noise from our front suspension. So now we're ready to do our suspension lift. You know, with those new bushings in there, we're gonna have 0 problems, 0 noise when we do that. So thanks for tagging along today, guys. And like the video if this helped you out. Subscribe if you guys wanna see more. And until next time, have a great night, guys.